I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me.
And good morning, YouTubers. Mikey here from the Crochet Crowd, my local broadcasting voice this morning. Currently working on a design called The Study of Complicated, and it is possibly for the summer stitch along. I am working on a new design. So Yarn Inspirations asked me to move a stitch along ahead of schedule, so the Study of Reality got moved to spring, which originally was going to be summer. So it left me with a hole in my pocket, dear Liza, to design a new pattern. And so the new pattern is called The Study of Complicated. Things got complicated, the world was complicated, and so I wanted to throw like kind of like the whole kitchen sink of this thing and actually try to work my way through this. So I'm currently working through doing a number of steps. So first step for me is always to start just playing with my yarn and just seeing what's going to happen. And so I have the first week done already. So first week is here. The yarn is not determined. So Yarn Inspirations hasn't made up their mind to give me an evaluation of what yarn it should be. So they're going to see the design, and then they're going to look at what's in stock and what's available, and we're going to go from there. So this is currently the first, this is the second time that I'm doing this. So the first design is here. So this is what it looks like so far as the first design off my hook. So it literally, the first circle here took me about 10 hours to design, get it to sit flat and make it look pretty cool. And so I decided to go through that, and then the next day I decided to think, well, what's in trend? And granny squares are in trend, and I'm like, well, I've got a round blanket. What the hell am I going to do with that? And so it took me a solid day of endless frogging, over and over and over to figure out how to do a granny square that will circle this thing. So anyway, so I have all these notes that I did, different things, and I end up finding out the mathematical formula to do it because it's through trial and error. And so I end up getting a design. The problem is that once I got there, the blanket, as you can see, is starting to ruffle. So I'm stuck. So do you see how it's just ruffling a bit on the exterior? It means that the stitch count is off, and I don't know what it's off by. So this is garbage, this design. So I will put this in the archives and say, well, this is what I created, and I will reference it maybe in the future. But for now, this one is done. So I'm currently in process of designing the crochet diagram. So I draw it in pencil first. So I physically do it and draw it with pencil, which you saw. And then I'm here on the computer. So yesterday, over the last 3 days, I've been designing it on computer right there. So anyway, so we have a number of different things that is going on with this particular pattern. So we start off with our interior, and then we're going to hit to a ring. So last night in Stitch Group, here's the ring. So the ring is done individually on its own, and then the circumference of the interior matches that other circle. So my goal is that I didn't want to do the lift of this, but apparently Yarn Inspirations likes it, and then the people at the group said they love it too. So I think I'm going to get stuck with that. So what I decided to do is that lip is actually holding those squares to the center, so there's no sewing involved. One of the things I did hate about this one, as you can see it, I sewed all of the granny squares together. So last night during group, I decided, let's re-examine this again, and let's take a look at what would it take for us to join as you go. So this particular new concept now is a join as you go, as you can see. You see that? So we don't have to sew anymore. We just join as you go. So as you complete the last round, you join it to the neighbor. And so you end up with a solid ring. So my goal, I think, in the end is that that ring is going to have 3 colors, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's going to circle like a clock in order to get that to go. So I was up pretty much all night thinking about what is my approach to being able to join it again, because I got to figure out the math. So the way that I designed the ring is that it matches the stitch count of the final round of the other one that I showed you. So technically it should puzzle together. But I found yesterday that it was really difficult to be able to design a trapezoid granny square, but I did figure it out. And so not happy with necessarily the height of how big this is, but it's blown up enough that a crocheter can actually see the stitches perfectly. And so I'm not going to worry about that. And then I'm going to create another ring of what the stitch count is and start fresh to get ourselves to be in a position to look like this, to make it look good again. So that's kind of my goal today, is to memorialize this, because I lost a ton of sleep last night. I think I just need to write it down on a computer so I have it within the file system. And that's kind of where I'm going today. So we had a crocheter actually ask me on how to write patterns, and I don't know if I'm the right person for that, because it's taken me years, because you look at the original patterns that I wrote in the very beginning of my career, they sucked like hard. So I'm going to just put you guys on a different screen here, and I'm going to move over to here. And so let's change and present. So here we got the study of complicated. So what I do, and so some people notice, well, you have a note somewhere and it doesn't make sense and whatever. And that's because what I do is I take the last pattern. So this was the study of reality. So I changed the name of it, and then I take out the study of reality stuff, and then I restart all over. So here the abbreviations don't match my stuff because I don't know what it's going to be yet. And so I'm just going to leave it there because I can use it at some point. I don't know what my yarn is, therefore I don't know my gauge. I don't know what this blanket looks like after it gets beyond this ring. I don't know how many colors I'm going to use, so the yarn is going to be determined by Yarn Inspirations based on stock. And so the first prototype, as you can see here, was done with the Karen cotton cakes. It's just random yarn that I just took with me on the trip, and I just put it together just to have a solid base of a design. So what's going to happen here is that we have a solid ring once we did. So I did that last night during group stitch night, and then we have a new sample that is going in for here. So this is what we're striving for now. So we're not going to assign any colors because I don't know what the yarn is going to be. But what I need to do is get a gauge of this once I'm ready for it. So I have a worksheet of what my gauges are for this kind of stuff. So this was Jumbo Twirl, Karen Jumbo Twirl. So I have to get my gauge and what that is, so that if when they give me the yarn, I can match the gauge towards what I'm working through. Other thing that happened yesterday, well, actually this morning. So I'll show you a little thing I got in the mail. So so I found this on Amazon. I did not know. So most of you know that I use a generic crochet hook from Amazon, and I wear these things out like crazy, right? So I wear everything out, but they look like a toothbrush. So somebody posted online is that they had a bigger, thicker one, and I'm like, thicker? Why does the gay guy not know about thicker? So anyway, so I went on Amazon, and sure enough, they make those hooks actually now bigger. So I can have the bigger sizes because they only went up to like a 6mm size J, but now they make up to a 10mm. And so the thickness of the shaft is much thicker to hold the thicker hook. These hooks only go down for about that much, and then they don't go all the way through. So I've only ever had one of these break in my lifetime, and I got tons of this. So I got 20 kits of this stuff on the other room. And so I know myself that I lose stuff. So I end up buying 3 kits of this stuff, and comes with a package, a bag that I don't need, but you can see all the different thicknesses. So I'm going to be switching over to these bad boys. I like the consistency of the way that the handle feels in my hand. You know, never mind. So anyway, so that's kind of what we have going on here. So we have Charles in the house, Louise, Chantel, Angela, Heidi, Chantel again, and who else do we got? I think that's it. So not a very big crew this morning, but that's okay. I'm just kind of working on stuff so that you can have some content later. And so that came in the Amazon this morning, already delivered, and so on. So we're working currently on this pattern. So what I want to do is I call it memorializing, memorializing. Because this pattern may not see the light of day. So I was going through my archives a couple days back, and I found patterns that I've never actually done, but I've memorialized them, that I've written them down, but I didn't like them in the end, so I don't bother to push them out. And so we have that going on too. So I just need to get it written down out of my head and onto the computer. I'm the type of guy where if something is bothering me, I tend to write it and write it down. And then for some reason, the act of writing it down and then pushing it to something else gets it from my brain, off of my brain, and allows me to move forward in life. And so that's kind of my shtick, and I'm sticking with it. So yeah, so we're gonna try doing this. So we have Toy in the house, as well as Domas. Oh my God, I'm not great with names. I'm lucky I remember my own name half the time. So I'm going to start, and we're memorializing this. And I will be back in just a moment. I just want to wash my hands before I get down and dirty with this pattern. So I've developed this weird habit of washing my hands, not chronically, but so right after I'm finished a meal, like instantly, I need to get up and wash my hands. Even if I'm at a restaurant, or if I need to do something, start something new, I need to wash my hands with something new. Maybe it's not a bad thing. I don't use soap, but just rinse with water and go, so I don't make my hands crack. So anyway, so we're gonna start and memorialize this pattern. And so in the instructions, we have this. So you can see that I have not done any of the starts and the stops of the rounds. I just recorded numbers so that I can see that those numbers will be gone, so that you will not see those in the future, but there's for my own design, so I know how many stitches we're circling around. Right. So anyway, that's kind of what we have. So we have Kyle and Elizabeth in the house this morning. So we're going to start. And the thing about writing patterns is that if you ever want to look at something, it's the Yarn Craft Council. And the Yarn Craft Council is out of the United States, and they dictate the way that you write patterns. And why they're dictating that is that the yarn companies and publishers and designers, we all work together so that the patterns look very similar to each other, so that you can just grab a crochet book and being able to start writing. And so you as a crocheter can literally take a design and then from one designer move to the other pretty easily if the designer is deciding to adhere to the Craft Yarn Council standards. So some new designers are not even aware that that exists, so their patterns can be very different than what you would see in a book. And so it's really difficult for a crocheter to be able to do that. So when I started with Red Heart back in 2013 and 14, I got tapped on the shoulder in 2013 that I need to change the way that I'm teaching online, because I'm not adhering to the Craft Yarn Council or the Yarn Craft Council. And the reason for it is that the way that I was wrapping the hook was not consistent with how the books are saying. So I used to not, I used to not go over the hook when I crocheted. So when I went in, I would go under a yarn under, pull through, and then when I went back, I went yarn over and through, because it's the way my mom showed me, but I didn't know it was wrong. And what it does is it makes the stitches tighter by doing it the method that I was doing it. So they asked me that I need to, if I'm going to continue working, that I need to change to match the standards of crochet. So it took me about a good solid week to stare at my hands and get my hands to go yarn over every time. And so that has been a challenge for me to be able to do that. So the thing about pattern writing is that you have to stay on point without getting into the weeds of the extra stuff that you would want to write. And so when you're writing, you do not want to start adding in extra words like and the and filler words that are just going to fill a space. So a crocheter will come along and they will say, well, am I going to do the pattern based on the number of words that I see? And the answer is yes. So if the pattern looks too wordy, a crocheter will literally exit through the gift shop. So the longer the instructions, the worse it is. Patterns that are under 2 pages end up doing really well, and patterns more than 2 pages end up, unless the pattern is like really good, will end up failing. So the secret number is to keep it under 2 pages. And it's just based on a crocheter looking at it, and they don't want to be overwhelmed with a lot of instruction. Another thing that changed in the last couple nights, there's been a lot of confusion about the stitches per side. So I redrafted yesterday a new worksheet to understand that it's crochet stitches between the sides. For whatever reason, and I'm not blaming anybody, I don't know how to convey to people that the chain 2 or a chain space on a corner does not count as a stitch. And so I'm open to learning on how that is. So I originally had another diagram in here, but because the diagram was generic, people are not understanding. So people, when they go to count, they're not counting the stitches that are in the corner in the green here. And so they'll count everything else but the stitches in the corner. And I understand it, but I don't know how to make it more clear. So if you have some ideas here on YouTube, you guys are the I'm on YouTube more often than you believe. YouTube is my home platform over my website and Facebook, and so I'm here all the time on Facebook or on YouTube. So anyway, the person was asking why sometimes that there's a single crochet in a corner, sometimes there's double. So there's only one single crochet here, but then there's 2 here. What makes those rules? And the rules comes down to the rotation of the stitches. So it takes a lot more height. When the stitches are taller, it takes more to go around a circle than it does for the small one. So you can see, you can just zip along. And the best way that I could describe that is that if you were to run in a circle and you ran and it takes you 1 minute to go around the circle, but then you make the circle bigger and you still only want it to be a minute, you have to run faster in order to equal that. So the only way to run faster in crochet is to add an extra stitch so that it has more distance to be able to turn the corner than it does for these small ones. That's my only analogy that I can think of that's in my brain. So, and it depends as well on the crochet design as well, right? So a good granny square or granny blanket or a square blanket or rectangle is usually always an odd number from this. So an odd number makes it so that you can do a lot of great shit with the patterns. As soon as it comes to an even number, it gets really hard to be able to design. So the goal for me is always to keep this within an odd number. So, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And so if I do need an even number, so what I could do is just 1 double crochet in a corner, chain 2, 2 double crochet. It eliminates an extra stitch, and then it will make the stitch counts across go even. And so where would you want even? If it was crisscross, that's always a multiple of 2. So 2, 2, 2. So you have to have an even number for that. But most of the patterns have an odd number when it comes to at least my designing for squares and rectangles, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? I don't even know if it makes sense. But anyway, anyways, the height of the stitches is what's determining this. So we're going to start off. We don't know our color, and we are not chaining 2 at this time, and we are going to work our way in a circle. So I don't even know how many rounds there are. Let me just take a quick note of that here at the pattern. I have 14 rounds. I'm just going to do that. So the idea of the diagrams were all enough patterns. If you ever learn how to make these diagrams, there is some serious money to be able to do it. Most of you know that I used to be a car designer, and so with automotive, and let me just take a look. Blueprint car bumper, and I'll show you what I used to do. So I am a very analytical person. I'm gonna see if I can find something that is like that. Those are usually highly confidential, so whether I'll find one online is really quite questionable. So anyway, so my job was to figure out on how to mold a vehicle. So whether it was a front or rear fascia, which you would, as a layman's terms, would know it as a front and rear bumper, side fenders, anything in plastic, that was my job. And so we would have it in blueprint format. So it was all the lines and measurements and stuff like that. So to me, the crochet diagram is reflective of that. And because of that, this part of the job of transitioning a pattern like this to a diagram gives me such a lift. You have no idea, like no idea. But they are very expensive to make because they take a lot of time. So the newest patterns these days, I'm starting to charge $6.99 Canadian, which is under $5 American. And I'm charging it because it takes a long time. So it's taken me 3 days so far for just for this, and then also the circle. So let me put the circle in there as well. So the circle went in. So there's the circle. And so it's taken me 3 days so far to do that. So I'm charging a whole $6.99. You'll be surprised at how many people do not buy patterns. So the money that does come in is minimal, but it's better than nothing, right? To kind of get some of your time back. So, okay, so let's move on. And so the first round, I started writing a pattern for a US magazine last week. So the first round is a standard within Yarnspirations, but they want round one. And so I'm struggling a bit because the way that they do it, they want their stitches counts in brackets at the end with no period, where this here is standard the way that it shows here. So it's just showing you this. In patterns, if you have chain one, this means that you actually physically chain one. Chain one like this means that it's a locator. So you're going to put three. So you put 3 double crochet in chain one space, right? This here chain one is a locator when it's got a hyphen like this. But standards of crochet, not everybody does it, but this is standard. And so it's really key to be consistent with your writing. Yeah. Yeah. That's cheap as chips, they would say. Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of what we have going on. So let's start writing. So I've got my pattern in front of me. So I have not determined my starts and stops yet. So I just wrote it on my little sheet here. And so the chain 2 is just going to get you started. And then we're going to, this is the right side. So what does that mean? It's the side that you're looking at as if you were underneath the blanket and you wanted people to really see the blanket, this is the side that would face somebody if they were looking at you. You were behind this blanket when it's on top of you. So you're looking at the right side of the blanket. So if you're ever on the wrong side means that you're the person underneath the blanket. Does that make sense? I don't know. So anyway, so we got to make sure those kind of things are defined within the right side. And then if I ever use wrong side has not been used, but I have not used the wrong side of the blanket yet so far in the design. So we're going to put 12 single crochet. 12 single crochet, second chain from hook. See, no fluff, just telling you what to do. See, bossy. And we're going to go from there. So it says join. I want to confirm what the join is. So the join is join with a slip stitch to the beginning stitch or top of the beginning stitch. period. So we can say join without having to say join to the top of the beginning stitch. So you just say join, nice and simple, nice and short. You know, I'm a size queen, but for instructions, it's better to be shorter. You never heard that from me. So anyway, so that was round number 1. And so we have 12 single crochets that are 12. We did 12 double crochet, 12 double crochet, second chain from the hook, 12 DC. So if you ever see 12 stitches instead, or like this means that there was a combination of stitches. So it just wasn't double crochet, but it might have been double crochet, single crochet. So if there's ever this, it means that there was a combination of that, or the designer just decided to say it's just the number of stitches and not worry about that. But it's more correct to actually call out the stitches by name, right? Kind of like Never Ending Story, call it my name. Yeah. So Lynn doesn't care for the crochet diagrams. That's fine. You know, Lynn, I am not a strong reader. It has not been my thing. I used to cry in school because reading was hard, and it's not because I'm stupid. It's just because it was hard. So the diagrams for me, if it wasn't for diagrams, I would never have gotten into crochet, because I can follow this like a roadmap of like an atlas, but I cannot follow reading instructions very easily. And so I think when it comes to crochet, Lynn, you have to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. So for you, you prefer the words. For me, I need the visual roadmap. So the fact that I can do both, you know, doesn't make me bisexual, but that's pretty close. And then for me, I have to do the diagram, the written words, and then the video tutorial, because God forbid I ever design a pattern, there's no tutorial. I know people get all bitchy and shit. So anyway, we're going to do second round next. And we are going to chain 4, and counts as a double crochet and chain 1 space. So so do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is a locator, versus if I leave the hyphen out, it means that you physically have to chain 1, right? So anyway, so yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to do that. Do all the diagrams follow the same symbols? Yes, pretty much, unless the designer has not looked it up. So I'm very, very careful that I don't create a new symbol if one already exists. And so I do a deep dive online to find it, if there is one. So we're going to double crochet in next stitch. And we are going to put a star. So the star means that we have to go repeat the instructions, and double crochet in the next way, and then chain 1. Repeat from the asterisk all the way around. Again, keeping it simple. And so it's telling you to, once you get here, repeat. So you go back to the asterisk to do it, repeat until you get around, and then we will be slip stitch. So because I'm going to the third chain from the hook, I can't just say join, because the join definition was not telling you it was the third chain from the hook. Slip stitch to third chain of beginning chain. Okay, and then we are going to then say how many stitches this was. So this is going to be 24 double crochet and 24 stitches altogether. 12, it's 12 double crochet and 12 chain 1 spaces, equivalent to 24 stitches. Now the equivalent thing is something new that I've been adding to the patterns lately, because people seem to get all confused. So what the equivalent is, and so when it gets into something like over here, it gets really dicey. So I put the equivalent in for myself to keep a track of the count. So we've gone from 12 to 24 now, so that means that it's doubled in size. So now we're going to go third round. So we're going to chain. So we're going to slip stitch to next chain 1 space. So that's again a locator. Chain 1 is not done. It's a locator. So we're slip stitching next space, chain 3. And we have not defined this yet. Counts as double crochet here and throughout. So next time you see chain 3 at the beginning of instruction, it counts as a double crochet unless I tell you otherwise. And then double crochet in same chain 1 space. So in the old days, they used to just go double crochet in the same space, but in today's terminology, we have to call out what that number is. It's how many double crochet. You just cannot assume that it's 1. So we just say 1 now, so that a customer doesn't come along and say, well, you did not say how many it was. Well, it's now in there, and it just saves a lot of drama, honestly. And we are going to chain 2. And this is not the start of a repeat. So the start of the repeat is going to begin now. So we're going to put 2 double crochet in next chain 1 space, and then chain 2, and repeat from asterisks around. And then we are going to join when we get there. So that's joining to the top of the first stitch. And so this will then count as 48 stitches altogether. Is that right? Yeah, it is right. So we're going to have a 24 double crochet and 24 chain 2 spaces, equivalent to 48 stitches. And now we're going to move on to the 4th round. So, okay, so we are currently right here. We have the double crochet going into the space, chain 2 to jump over. So we're just working on the chain 2 spaces. And so now the next round here is going to we're going to use some front post double crochet. It's going to be 2 front post double crochet around the stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each. So the stitch count number will stay the same. Okay, so let's figure out where we're going to start this. I'm looking at the pattern to determine where I'm going to start. I'm putting in my slip stitching in so I can see it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this time we are going to chain 1 and chain 1 period, 1 single crochet in same stitch as join, 1 single crochet in next stitch. Okay, I have to check if I have a front post. Double crochet front post is here. So that is the magazine I was working with last week. They have FPDC, so they have it backwards. So I have to really watch that when I'm designing for other people. That's my biggest takeaway. So we're going to have 2 DC front posts around DC 2 rounds below. So it comes down. So this double crochet 2 comes down into here into round number 2. Right. Are you going with it? Yes, you are. And so now the repeat is going to start from this point. So we're going to say 1 single crochet in next 2. You know what I should do? I should same stitches join, 1 double crochet in the next double crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 2 DC, 2 double crochet, 2 DC. We could just copy that. Okay, repeat from asterisk around and join. And so this will have then how many stitches? So we're going to have 24 DC front post and 24 single crochet, equivalent to 48 stitches. Makes sense? Makes sense. Okay, we're going to go fifth round. Fifth round, we're going to do some fun stuff. Fifth round, we're going to do a front post gathering around the two other posts here, chain two, and then we're going to do a two together double crochet. So we have to check to see if we have that double crochet two together. It does not exist. So we're going to double crochet two together, or crochet two together. And so I'm going to highlight the ones that I'm physically using. Therefore, I know that it's been confirmed inside the pattern. That's a standard one there. Join. So I just got to make sure that I do that. So repeat, we've used single crochet. Skip. We're going to use skip. We're using slip stitches and stitches. This one we keep because that's part of the instruction for notes. Okay, so let's go back to the pattern. Fifth round, let's see where we are. We're going to chain. So if it's a two together double crochet, chain two at the beginning of a pattern. Counts as DC. Or do we want to say beginning? We might want to say beginning, begin DC two together. Okay, so we're going to define that here. So that's new. So when you do a double crochet together and it's the first stitch, double crochet, we're going to go right here. We're going to put this in. Equals chain two, one double crochet in next stitch. Okay. And then chain two. One double crochet front post around both double crochet front posts below. Chain two. And now this is where the repeat starts. So it's one double crochet front, one double crochet, two together, over next two single crochet, chain two, one double crochet front post around both DC front posts below. I am going both together. I'm going to say together, both DC together, because it's going around both of them at the same time. So we have Gordon in the house and Cheryl this morning, and then chain 2. Repeat from here around, and then we're going to join to the beginning. And so now we're going to have how many stitches altogether? So we have 12 DC front posts. So I usually start off with the biggest number first. So we're going to have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to have 24 chain 2 spaces. So it's a higher number than 12. And then we're going to have 12 DC 2 together. And this equals how many stitches? Equivalent to, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 36 stitches. I just wanted to verify. So 24 plus 12. That's not 36. 24 plus 12 is what? That's not 36. It is 36 because there's 24 chain 2 spaces. That doesn't mean 24 stitches. That just is a space. So what brand are their new hooks? They're just a generic from Amazon Canada. You'll probably find them on Amazon US if you see it. And this is, the program is Adobe Illustrator. So something is wrong. So 48. So on my notes here, I got 72, which I don't think is the right answer. Let me get my calculatrice out. 24 plus 12. So it should be 40, equivalent to 48 stitches. I feel like something is wrong. What is wrong? It might be 48. Okay, Karen is messaging me. I just got to jump screens for a second. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So I think it's 48 stitches. We'll find out pretty damn fast if I'm wrong. 6 round. So 36, so that's 72 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to head off. I've got a problem with my design and I need to think without somebody watching me. So I will see you later and have a great morning.